Hi everyone, and welcome to the Virtual View podcast. My name is Paul Collis and I'm the founder of Virtual Finance Director Services. Each week I speak to a business owner where they give us some insight into their business, their career journey to date, and also their views on the current business landscape. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Jason Kingston, a partner in a company called Cube Thinking, a business performance consultancy based in the northwest of England. So good afternoon, Jason, and welcome to the Virtual View.
Hi Paul, good afternoon. Thank you for having us as well. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Great to have you on. So Jason, you're a pretty well-known face in the Northwest in business circles, but for the benefit of our viewers and listeners that don't know you, can you just give us a bit of a background about yourself and your career to date?
Yeah, of course I can. So background went from accountant to auditor to analyst, or bean counter to bean checker to bean grower, I guess it could be. First 12 years local government, some time there with AAT studies, SEMA studies, but crucially sort of get my hands dirty then in mortuary accounts, coroner accounts, poll tax and that stuff. Forwarded in then into auditing, particular systems audits, but I seemed to find my sweet spot with contract audits at the time. Investigated a few frauds, cartels and all that kind of stuff, including a potential fraud on a Northern Soul night, which was great because I DJ as well. Okay. So and I was distracted by the music, absolutely, and we didn't uncover a fraud. What we did uncover was a beer tap that was leaking, and some poor girl from Farnworth was about to get the chop until we discovered. So audit can be a tool for protecting the innocent too.
Yeah.
From that then, Potters a couple of years as a financial advisor, which was great from seeing how that side of capitalism generates income and all the rest of it. But it was a bit interesting or challenging to see how sometimes working in that environment can culturally not always give the best outcomes for individuals. And I guess at that stage, through a bit of a crushing challenge personally, become aware of the impact of working environments and culture on mental health, physical health and other stuff as well. So that opened my eyes. I had a tiny break just to rebuild my life, basically. And then went working for Shop Direct in debt recovery, truth be known. So I went to a fraction of what I'd been earning before. But then opportunity come to grow experience through Six Sigma and that kind of stuff. Then went over from Shop Direct, Littlewoods and those, over to JD Williams, which was more in the lean arm, which was great. And the good thing is with the Six Sigma and the lean side, you very become aware of culture having an impact on productivity, which was interesting, taking you back to your auditing days. And for those of us who had the privilege of doing something called SEMA, the exams, there was a module in there called Management Science Applications. Sadly, I've even got the SEMA book. And it had the kind of concepts like quick expands to fill the time and all that good stuff. So it was useful that actually some of these pearls of wisdom were buried in ancient accounting texts, like Frank Wood's business accounting and stuff. It was good to see them interpreted in terms of culture. And then equally from digital too. So following on from the back of the lean and that side, I then got the opportunity to bring lean and tools from lean manufacturing into social housing. So then I had a decade in social housing. From those pieces then, worked with activity-based costing, informing process-based accounting, and crucially helped drive up a lot of efficiency. And during that period was doing consultancy as well and becoming aware that actually with accounting financial nous, along with process nous, along with understanding people, behavioural economics, and where digital can make efficiencies and also your reports, that actually there's probably a usage for something like that. And I guess that formed in my mind with my eventual business partner, Cube Thinking, which is a methodology, or a business consultancy, and probably a bit of an ideology. The three dimensions of Cube being people, process, and machines.
I was going to ask you where the name Cube came from.
It was because of that, because as a process analyst, as a business analyst, you focus on the process, which is great, and it means you can do, here's one I made earlier, but stuff like that, process maps, which I'm very happy to do, which is awesome. Well, that focuses on the process. Well, looking at you can have the most beautifully designed process, but if the culture is one of bullying, of oppression, or does not enable people to be the best they can be, in other words, the behavioural economics behind it are not ideal, that beautifully designed process is as useful as a chocolate fireguard if it's allowing bullying cultures, alteration in shift pattern, And as much as you can look, unless you can understand the human beings following the process, you may never truly understand where process inefficiency comes from. So that's, I think, where we come as a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
Overlying the fact that you can often go from process map to digital products in a couple of months if you get it right, and you represent humans in the digital world by understanding stuff like this, and digital in the human world by using stuff like this to help products. And all the time you're generating data. And I had the privilege of having a bit of time in business intelligence too. So being able to go into not only the data dashboards, but to be able to go into data warehouses and that side. So that's where it come from. And on the process side, my business partner, John Woodruff, his background in manufacturing is absolute gold dust. So much so that going back to 2008, when I was bringing manufacturing into social housing, I actually used to go to events that my business partner put on as part of Manufacturing Alliance and Manufacturing Advisory Service and Manufacturing Institutes. So I was fanboy with my business partner. So that's where Cube come from. So I probably waffled, but that's passion.
No, that's brilliant. Had you always had a burning ambition to set your own business up, or did it just happen organically, really?
It just happened. I guess ultimately you come to a point where it's a crazy thing, but I guess what would make you not as popular as an employee perversely makes demand for you as a consultant incredibly more. And I had a conversation about this morning for a client who were down in Kent, in so much as an employee coming up with exactly the same ideas, you were viewed as a disruptor.
Yeah.
Now, in some workplaces, that's great. In fact, at Halton Housing, for example, they have job roles, chief disruptor, and that's well and good. But majority of businesses, you're still viewed, if you've got any appetite for change, as sometimes you're viewed with a sort of suspicion. Now, dropping onto that with some MBA studies and, you know, the benefit of being positioned as an outside voice looking in, suddenly you can get taken on more. So I guess the end point was to make a difference. And I thought the vehicle would have been as an employee. What happened by starting to do some consultancy, it grew to becoming doing more consultancy than day job. So then it became a natural conclusion. And it would be lovely to have been able to make the differences in various of my jobs. I wanted to be my dream job and just to stay there. But the difference you wanted to make didn't always align with the corporate vision, which was just, that's the way we do things around here, Jason.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be smirching that because everybody's on a vision, is on a journey.
Okay, so it'd be a bit remiss of us not to mention COVID in the last 6 months, and you know, I take it that a lot of your work is actually being on site with businesses pre-COVID, and then maybe drifting back into that over the last few months, and now, you know, we're on the verge of a second lockdown. How has your business changed over the last 6 months?
So we pivoted to be digital first immediately. We were transitioning that way to be digital ideally as well, just because of the efficiency gains which we could see. So it actually did us a favour with coronavirus, because it meant we could do, rather than physical surgeries as we did on March the 13th at Tickle Trout in Preston, it meant we could start to do virtual ones based at the Samsbury Hotel, and physical and digital, if you will. So it enabled us to, the ones who were trying to nudge towards a digital way, it forced the hand on that, which was kind of useful, because we were big fans of, if you can get the theatre of engagement and entertaining approaches to education, edutaining, it has its value. So it has been fantastic, because we've been able to do a lot more with one. For example, with masterclasses, we could do a broadcast to 100 businesses, and in 1 hour, we've effectively had 100 touch points.
Yeah,
which is great. And we ended up leading with Lancashire County Council, Ask for Help, the economic resurgence piece, if you will, and then the follow-on piece then for high-performing businesses. Now, both of those programmes were delivered predominantly digitally. As you said, in last month or two, wherever possible, we've been able to have cherry-pick certain physical meetings. They've been gold dust. So, for example, Monday this week, 2 days ago, I was on site with a client in Rochdale doing, make sure the logo's not showing, but doing a process map on site with a client, and doing a session and getting on the nuts and bolts, socially distanced, but nevertheless getting to the cold face, smelling the office, smelling the environment, touching it, and getting that to be done. So, but because we've now I think because you use them little slices of opportunity for physical interaction, when you return back to digital, you've got the bond, which is going on there. So,
Right.
but digital's got to be first, and it's until the vaccine, we've got to accept that this is the reality that we're in, and it's a bonus if we get physical.
So would you say the pandemic's almost opened up new opportunities for your business, and maybe you're doing things that you would have been doing in 5 years' time, or is it?
It's definitely accelerated. So, for example, the call I had this morning with a client in Kent. The first session we had with them was the second working day after the Christmas break. It was a bonkers one. We did the proposal physically. So we did the proposal and sent it across to them the day before Christmas Eve. They approved it. Second working day after Christmas break, we were driving down, mega middle at night, down to Kent, quick travel lodge, up, boom, on site. I catch up with them this morning with a view to talking about a longer programme of support, should we say. That'll all be digital. So totally, it's made a massive acceleration, and it's made us as a consultancy do a lot less driving, a lot less fatigue, and also probably been a lot more bang for our buck to clients because they're not paying for all those extra disbursements that they would have before.
Yeah, well, that leads me into my next question, really, and the future of work for office-based, historically, office-based people. So in the past, I've done contracts where there's been an option to work from home, and I've done 2 or 3 days from home, 2 days in an office, and back then I always thought it'd be great if it was fully from home. And now what I've realised during the pandemic is, I think I work best with a bit of a mixture, maybe 2 days on site, 3 days from home. However that balance might work, and even for people who aren't the most outgoing people, personalities, I think they've realised they do need that human interaction as well. Even though they might prefer to be left alone to do work for long stretches of time.
Yeah.
They've actually realised that I might be a quiet person, or I'm not that outgoing, but I do need that human contact.
I think you're absolutely right. I think where the ideal, I mentioned digital before, which relates to sort of that combination of physical and digital, and I've always thought that was the ideal for any workplace. And where I've had teams as a manager or a leader or whatever, that had always been my preference to encourage that where possible for maximum efficiency, but also because when you're doing deep work, you need to be undisturbed and know that you're not going to be disturbed. And to get to where you need to get to, and particularly back into the old audit days and stuff like that. When you're writing a report, if you lose your mojo, you've just lost 3 hours.
I think back to when I started with PwC 20 years ago. I mean, we did have the internet, but a lot of the time when you're on a client site, you'd be disconnected, and you'd have to dial up every couple of hours to upload a file or whatever. But I'm thinking auditing these days, there's so many distractions. I wonder how graduates get on when they're thrown into that environment. I know a lot of automation has come in, which helps. A lot of the ticking and bashing, as we used to call it. But
but at the same time, the art of thinking has often been dissuaded by the environments that people are in. It invites almost a naturally occurring ADHD, in a way. And when you are in deep thought, for example, right, even doing stuff like that sets a good hard, a good day off site, just undisturbed with a good brew to get what you're doing. So when you're doing deep thinking, that environment needs to be a protected environment. Minimum distractions, you crack on with what you're doing, particularly because as human beings, we get easily distracted. And even more so as we've become used to having red buttons popping up on our phone and that kind of stuff. So for deep work, that's great. But that working from home, that seems great if you like us, you've got the privilege of having an office in your house or whatever, but that's not always been the case. And if you are working from a home where you are younger, you've got a young family, there's situations which, that's what homes are there for at the end of the day. Homes are meant to have disruption, meant to have dogs, they're meant to have washing in the back and, drying your clothes on the radiator or whatever else. Not everyone's got this privilege. And when you've not got that and you need to do deep work, it's a difficult one. And that's where I think if employers face into that and therefore think, well, actually, we need to encourage people to, I used to work from a library, which was brilliant, or choose a space, or to find an agreement with somewhere where you can go in, or staff can go in and do the deep work, and to work that way. So I think if you look at the estate that as a business you may have, it may not just be your office or your HQ. Equally, you're factoring into that people's homes, those who've got that, but recognising that everyone's got that privilege. But then you've got some halfway houses. For example, we've done, I don't know if you know Whitnall at all, if you're over that way,
No.
but I've had a lot of meetings upstairs in a discreet corner in Whitnall tea rooms.
Okay.
That's not my home, nor the home of the other person, but it was a great way to be off the radar for the project that we were working on.
Yeah.
You know, and there's these opportunities to do things in a different way. So totally physical, digital, it's a hybrid, there's a right way. And it's encouraging people to face into that. But we just need to be mindful of, is the environment safe mentally for people? And also, if people are working remotely in different ways, if that was pre-coronavirus, we would have had a lone worker assessment or an awareness.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, because you used to
Yeah.
say, if people turned up, and the office is based on the old mills, isn't it? So you turn up, you clock in, away you go, you're late, you get caught, all that sort of stuff. When people are working from home, you might not be clocking their hours, but you're still responsible vicariously for their working environment.
Yeah.
With musculoskeletal issues and all sorts.
Yeah.
So it's just needs the checks and balances.
Yeah, I mean, co-working spaces, there's some fantastic ones in Lancashire that have opened in the last couple of years, and you know, historically they've been for freelancers and creatives and the self-employed. Do you think, you know, we could go down an avenue where employed people use those types of spaces as well, like say to get that separation from home life?
Well, forward-thinking employers, quite a few of our clients, for example, use places like Bonded Warehouse in Manchester, use Wellbeing Farm. I've just come back from Preston now, just bobbed into Society One, where Katrina and the gang are there. So there's lots of them spaces which forward-thinking employers, go back to that point before, should be considering their workplace estate and also extending that and saying, look, we need to make an arrangement. Can we just put you on a retainer for these days for staff to come in and to get a coffee and to do that? If you have an office in Manchester, but more of your staff live in Chorley, in the current world, it makes a lot more sense to get a little spot somewhere in Chorley, let's say it's Norby Fields or wherever, and get your staff to work out of there and just plan it sequence, because humans do need to meet, and we're not going to be in lockdown forever. These things will happen. We go under the water, hold our breath, come up for a month, and then we're back at it then. So we definitely, employers, there is an opportunity for them, the ones who think in that way, to sort of to take these opportunities, I reckon.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for your time this afternoon, Jason.
Thank you.
Just before we wrap up, if people want to find out more about Cube Thinking or get in touch with yourself and they think their company might benefit from your consultancy services, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Best way to contact us is through the website, through the info, or find out more parts on the website. Also, I'm on LinkedIn, named Jason Kingston. My partner, John Woodruff, and there's a Cube Thinking page on there too. So if you contact us through any of them, we can have a digital coffee if we can't have a physical coffee with Cube. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for listening or watching. You've been listening to the Virtual View podcast with me, Paul Collis from Virtual Finance Director Services. And my guest today was Jason Kingston from Cube Thinking. So thanks a lot, Jason, and speak to you soon.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Keep smiling.